Good afternoon, everyone. This is Manasa Mitta. It gives me immense pleasure to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of Sri Vidyaniketan Degree College for second session of FDP on writing the research proposal for funding agencies and hands-on training in advanced research tools. May I request Honorable Principal Dr. D. Ashalata Ma'am to introduce second session of FDP.
Good afternoon. It's real pleasure to be part of this session where we are going to listen to very esteemed Professor Shanmugasundaram sir on his very resourceful talk on how to write a very good research proposal for the funding agencies. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and blessing our FDP. It's really a great kind of an initiative for us. Like we have started right now. Our young coordinator has taken so much of effort to actually organize this program, and all the student volunteers are working so tirelessly to see, like, we have to have these kind of programs and think very positive during the pandemic. So we are happy, sir, to have you with us here today. And we are really, as I told you, we are very blessed and we are honored with your presence. We are very thankful to our management, our respected and revered chairperson, Dr. Mohan Babu sir, and very inspirational CEO, Shri Vishnu sir, for approving all our arrangements and giving us an opportunity to host this online FDP. So this today, I think it's a great moment actually. Like, we have a lot of teachers joining us for this session, and they are very much interested in the research. So when we have so much of gaps, sir, like, in the productive research, in what is happening right now in the circles, many of us, we are taking up research, qualitative, quantitative, but at the end, when we see there is no proper end productive, result-oriented research where we are, trying to put that into use for the public or for the, the domain of the public use. So most of the researchers now, which is very good to see, sir, like, in my network also, that they want to contribute for the country or contribute for the society, contribute for the human, exclusive human development. So that's a good thing that we are seeing in the children right now. And many young researchers, they want to learn a lot of ideas and, take a lot of opinions and suggestions from respectable people like you. So like when we have agencies like UGC or NBHM or ERUSA or ICSSR, whatever it is, scientific or non-scientific research funding agencies, many of the faculty, when they're applying for them, they are not able to get the proper research proposal done, or they don't have a guidance that how they have to write or how they have to apply. Say for example, I have been a principal for quite some time in the colleges. So when we were applying for DST or DSIR or ICSSR, or maybe sometimes for the NBHM also, sir, so even in spite of our faculty being very qualified, we could not get through the process, because when we went for the reviews and all, we could not finally impress the logical questioning done by the reviewers, or we were not, like, not exactly, able to impress them. Maybe in some cases we got through, but some cases there were, kind of hiccups that we were not able to, especially when it's government funding agencies. They are very clear about the reviews, and they are also like, funders agenda, as they call now, sir. We were not able to meet that. So as a principal, I used to accompany the faculty, go and sit with them, with the principal secretaries in the secretariat. And it was quite a good experience, learning experience. But I think when very, knowledgeable person like you shares with us few secrets of how to actually write a very good research proposal, sir, I think that will be very helpful for the teaching fraternity, and hope we'll apply for very good research projects in the future with your blessings and take the research to a very productive level. That is what India needs right now. And I hope all our children will get into that very seriously in the course of the time. Thank you so much, sir. And we are waiting for your session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Shall I start?
Sir,
I request.
Just speak a few words, man. Sir will start.
Yeah.
Yes.
I request our FTP coordinator, Dr. Charles Leke ma'am, Assistant Professor, to introduce today's eminent resource person. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are honored this afternoon by the presence of Honorable Guest Speaker, Professor Shanmugasundaram, sir. Sir is currently working as Scientist Emeritus, Department of Biotechnology at Sri Shakti Institute of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore. Sir served as Assistant Vice President in Reliance in A20 project for 6 years from 2011 to 2017. He served in various capacities for more than 3 decades in Madurai Kamraj University. Professor S. Shanmugasundaram sir, as a principal investigator, completed several DST, DBT, and industrial projects. Sir did his master's degree from Madras University and obtained doctoral degree from Madurai Kamraj University. Sir served as coordinator for several programs and he was nominated by Government of India as nominated scientist in the Indo-USA Collaborative Research. He was awarded with 3 patents and filed 7 patents. Sir publications list is huge in high impact factor journals. Sir worked as a associate project director for 8 centers all over India for technology development of biofertilizer, blue-green algae, Government of India. Had it not been a webinar, you would have heard non-stop applause for some time. His collaborations with USA and other countries also helped researchers throughout the world. I consider myself extremely fortunate to read your profile, and all the participants are lucky to listen to your talk. I'm sure your experience will immensely benefit the participants. Despite your busy schedule, you have accepted to be the resource person, and on behalf of our organizing committee, I thank you and welcome you, sir, for today's session.
Thank you, ma'am. I deem it an honor to invite today's esteemed resource person, Professor S. Shanmugasundaram sir, to enlighten us about the topic writing good research proposals for getting grants. After listening to all your experiences, I'm sure faculties will get sufficient funds to support the research scholar. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon all. So anyway, I will try to present what is called as how to write a good proposal. So perhaps, I will go through a series of discussion points. And in the end, if people want to ask questions, perhaps, I'm pleased to do that. The contents of my talk of this day is going to be what is a project proposal. I mean, let's try to understand that. And why write a project proposal? And components of the project proposal, the do's and don'ts in the proposal writing. So, as your principal was saying, the competition in India is very high. There are 3,000 engineering colleges. Okay, there are something like 300 universities. And the money in Government of India is limited. So India is not investing a lot of money in education as much they invest money in automobiles or other sectors. So the do's and don'ts are very important. And if you want to be very successful in getting a grant, see, writing a project, a proposal, anybody can write. The question is why to write. Anyway, we will see that. So what is a project proposal? This is nothing but outlining the ideas, whatever one has. The first question is there a specific objective? Many times you write a proposal without a specific objective. Now, the most important point, are you trying to solve a problem? Have you taken a problem which is a serious issue in this country, and is it that you are making a proposal to solve the problem? Either the proposal should solve a problem or it should develop a product. So if you are not taking an interesting or a challenging problem, I will give you an example of that. Today, microplastic. So we were throwing plastics everywhere. And one day it all got disappeared. We thought plastic is gone. No, they are all micronized and you don't see it, it's there. It's there in the water, it's there in the soil, it's in the air, so you are getting it back. So the microplastic is a perennial existing problem. Now, are you taking a problem like that and then say you want to provide a solution? Then, the government is interested. Or do you want to make a product? For example, can you make a bacterial robotics? So today everybody is excited the moment you say artificial intelligence or you talk about robotics. Can you really make biorobotics? So in other words, if your project proposal is not solving a problem, or if it is not making a product which is needed, important for the society, then the chances of getting the project is less. And then when you make a project proposal, what is the anticipated result? Are you sure what is the result you are expecting out of the project? Are you sure about that? You can't say, I do not know what is the result. I have to do it and see what happens. Now, that kind of a project, who is going to give their money or who is going to invest their money? And project proposal should answer the following questions. What are they? Is the problem sufficiently important? You cannot simply say isolation of some organisms from soil, or studying some birds, or studying some trees, or studying some local issues. Who is going to give money for that? So you have to justify. See, you are asking for a taxpayer's money in the form of a project grant. So, unless and otherwise you have taken a problem, which is really important. Now, can we talk about how to get a potable water or how to purify water? Is it possible at every household level? Then, if you say you are making a biofiltration, because whatever filtration is available today, we do not know how good they are. Can you make a new filtration technology? Now, can you make a viral-free water? Today, everybody is running from pillar to post because of COVID-19. And COVID-19 is in the air, COVID-19 is in the water, COVID-19 is also in the food chain. Now, let us take water. How do you remove COVID-19? Do you have a technology or do you have a solution? If you make a project today, now I know how to filter COVID-19 from drinking water, then the problem is important. And you can justify the money and the time and the effort. So that's what it means. Is the project well defined? Do you know, okay, taking an important problem like filtering virus from the water is an important problem. But have you defined how are you going to do it? Do you really know how to do it? Or is it emotional? You are giving an excellent topic, but then you do not know how to do it. Okay. He says something you want to do it. Is it realistic? Can you do it? It's the next question. So have you outlined a sound approach? Next question is, including your ability to perform the task. Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the expertise? See, you are willing to work for a project. You are willing to work. But the question is not that. Do you know? Do you have the expertise to do it? If you do not have the expertise, you are going to learn something, then the investment people will think twice, right? Because there are others who claim they know how to do that. So what is a project proposal? It's a selling document. You are trying to sell a proposal to a funding agency, and they must be in a position to buy it, right? It's not simply writing something on a topic like an assignment or like a review article and then send it and say, why don't I get money? I mean, in competition, it doesn't stand. Do you influence the decision makers? See, a project will be reviewed by a committee of 12 to 14 or 15 people. It should go round 1, 2, 3, and 4. Have you impressed the screening committee member in round 1? Are you influencing the first round committee member so that he thinks it should go to the second round? So your project should be written in such a way it should influence the decision makers. So you should convince them through writing, because many times, round 1, 2, and 3, you are not going to basically present it. Your project should speak. You should write a project which should speak. It should convince in such a way the review members will try to put that time, and also the agency will try to give the money and then give a specific support. Okay. What is a winning proposal? A winning proposal should address these following questions. What is it? Are you an innovative person? Do you have an innovative idea? Do you have an idea which others do not have? Well, then it's taken seriously. Have you expressed clearly the methods that you are going to use to pursue the idea? Maybe you have an excellent idea. Fine. How are you going to achieve it? So the whole argument here is, it's not that just having a wonderful idea, but then you should impress the committee that you have the knowledge, you have the expertise, you are capable of really executing the idea because you have very clearly well-defined methodology to achieve it. Now the next question is, why write a proposal? I mean, it's a very general question. One thing, as a researcher, as a scientist, you want to inform all your colleagues that you are working in this particular field and now you are making a proposal and you want to do a particular kind of research. Sometimes, you have to satisfy the college, satisfy the industry, satisfy the organization that you are writing a proposal and you are looking for a grant. Okay. A project proposal is much like a business plan. The principal was telling at the beginning, see, let us look at the Indian condition. I am in this field of DBT, DST and all fund-giving agencies for nearly 3 decades. Now tell me honestly, how many products we have today in the market? We don't know. We can't say how many we have. So that's a challenge. So it should be something like a business proposal. It should be a business model. Then you apply for a grant. What does that mean? You are asking for other resources to achieve the task, achieve a particular goal, or achieve the result of a particular project. And then you are seeking support from other organizations. See, you're writing a project, just getting support, either financially or otherwise. And then to explore the causes of a problem and clearly define next steps in solving that problem. So again, I'm repeating, you have to take a problem which is important, which is socially relevant, which is a big issue in the country, like pollution, like accumulation of waste, like water, potable water, because we do not know if drinking water is free of heavy metals. We do not know whether our drinking water is free of viruses. We really do not know if drinking water has other pesticides, other toxic compounds. So these are all important problems. So are we taking a problem which is very important, relevant to the society, and also the government wants to really get a solution so that the people will be happy. So when you make a project, of course, you have a cover page which gives the institution information. And whenever you make a title, It should not be more than 15 words. It should be simple, short, sharp, precise, and persuasive. You cannot write a paragraph as a title. People will think you're not sure what you want to do. Of course, you put the author's name and you put the date of submission. So what are the components of the project proposal? Always ideas, ideas, and ideas only. You have a cover page. You have to write an introduction. What is an introduction? It's not simply cut and paste. You know why today many of the projects are not funded? They simply because of in an era of informatics, you have so much of information available in the net, and you know how to handle the net. You know how to handle the computer, laptop. What do? Cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. So people think, you are not written any, you are not really introduced the problem. Are you really reading the literature and writing on your own? Are you defining a clear-cut history? Are you defining the problem? What are your objectives? You justified all these objectives. Now, whatever intervention or design and strategy, do you have a design and do you have a strategy which you want to use it in achieving the objective? Do you have clear-cut definition of activities? What are the various activities you will do? And have you given the timeline? Of course, if you done a good job for all these things, you go to budget. Then people will always ask, do you have or have you really given evaluation indicators? Now, what is this evaluation indicators? What is that you are going to achieve in 6 months? Can that be an indicator? Can you give a clear-cut indicator? In 6 months, you can see that I achieved this. What is that I am going to achieve in 12 months, 18 months, in 36 months and 48 months? You cannot precisely say what you can achieve once in 6 months and you expect somebody will fund you in lakhs and crores. That's not going to happen, right? You have to be very clear in evaluation indicators. Of course, you give bibliography. Okay. Now, what is an introduction? The historical antecedents of the problem and the current situation. What was the problem? Suppose you are talking about plastic. Plastic is a problem for the last 30 years. That's the history. Now, what is the problem today? Today, the problem is not plastic. Today, the problem is microplastic. Today the problem is nanoplastic. Today, the problem is how to remove them. Today, the problem is the microplastic is in the ocean. Today, the problem is the fishes are eating it. Today, the problem is microplastics are in the pond. So it is everywhere. And you are buying fish. You are buying prawn. What is that you are eating? Not prawn, not fish, microplastics, nanoplastics. So that's a current situation. So we cannot talk about plastics anymore. And include the results and findings of related preliminary studies related to the problem, either national, international. Suppose you are saying, I know how to degrade plastic. See, everybody want to degrade plastic. Everybody want to write a proposal. Now, what is the information we have today in plastic degradation nationally and internationally? And then what is that you are giving an approach and how that you define that what is your way of attacking the problem in degrading the plastic. And today I will give you an information. There are countries in the world where they have designed synthetic enzymes which will degrade the plastic. So plastic degradation or microplastic degradation. Plastic degradation is not a story or it's not a fiction. So are you aware before you're making a project? And then if you give a methodology, the review will say, look, already this university in Norway, this university in Sweden, this university in USA has already done it. What is that new you are going to propose? You have to be very clear. Objectives. Now there is something called as SMART objectives. What are the SMART objectives? Are you specific in your project? Are you giving methodologies and results which are measurable? And is it realistic? Is it achievable? You can give a specific problem. You can even give how to measure it. But they will think, oh, you are working in this place. You have no equipments. You are working in this place. Where is the knowledge? You are working in this place. Where is the expertise? Then they will wonder, how are you going to achieve it? You are emotional. That's okay. Are you capable? So that question is always there. And then, of course, it come to the relevance. Unless and otherwise, it is socially relevant. Today, funding is not possible. So let us be very clear. And it must be time bound. You cannot say, I will solve the problem in a period of a decade. I mean, nobody is going to fund. Okay, so SMART objectives, one should remember how to really do it. Now, what is specific? Let us see one after the other. What do we mean by say specific? Use a specific example of a problem. Don't talk about it. Don't use a generalized language. Don't play with English. Don't play with vocabulary. That is not smartness. See, the reviewers have done the same thing. So, clearly state the issue. Let it be simple, straightforward, make it clear. And then you precisely say it is going to target to which group. Are you talking about, let us say, drug discovery? Now, are you talking about a drug discovery for diabetic people? Or are you talking about a drug discovery for a heart patient? What is the target group? To whom you think your research is going to be beneficial? Is it for the children? Is it for the young people? Is it for the adult? Or is it for the old people? Is it pediatrics, geriatrics, or adult? So that has to be clearly defined. The time and place of the program. Is it measurable? What is measurable? Be clear in the objective about what will be changed and how much by this research, by these results. What is the change I'm expecting? Let us say measuring glucose in diabetic people. Let us say there are glucose meters. Now I want to make a better meter. Now, what is the technology I'm going to follow for that? Or what is the methodology? Now, by my new thinking, new method, what is the change the consumer will get it? Or what's the benefit he will get it? Then using an existing machine. Setting this clearly at the start, you make it clear in the beginning of the objective itself, then it makes it easier for people who want to evaluate your project. Okay. And what is achievable? See, always we use the term, is it achievable? Be realistic about the program. Now, suppose someone says, I want to convert an insect into a robot or a drone. Can I make biological drones? Now, which is very interesting, because if you send a drone to monitor something, these are all unmanned small flying objects. But people will see, because it's not small in size. Anybody will see, everybody will understand there is a drone flying in their region. Now, what people are thinking today, can I take big insects like Oryctex rhinoceros, which is a coconut beetle, which is large in size? Can I put a chip on the insect? So as and when the insect flies anywhere, it can pick up the signal. So it's a very interesting project. It will certainly be much better than the normal drones. But if I propose it, if I do not have the expertise of making a nano chip, or I have no expertise in artificial intelligence, I have no expertise in deep learning or deep machining, it's not realistic. I mean, I want to make a project proposal, but nobody will fund me. They will say it's not realistic. This guy do not have any of the expertise. Now, can it be achieved in terms of scale and scope? For example, somebody was introducing me that I was doing a lot of biofertilizer research. And we wanted to really apply the biofertilizer for 5 different states: Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, and Haryana. Now it's a big scale. Now, if you want to achieve that, do you have the network? How many people are involved? And what are the various places? What is the control they have on the farmlands? Can we really do that? So the scale and the scope should be easily convincing to the funding agency. And what could be done in a given time and the resources available? So there was a very simple question. Can we increase the yield of rice by 10%? Now, I mean, this is a very interesting problem. We want to increase food production. We want to increase rice production. And is it really possible to increase the production of rice by 10%? So, what is the time? Suppose I say I can achieve it within 3 years. And whatever resources I have, the question is it realistic? Is it really achievable? No. What is the relevancy here? Objectives need to relate and be relevant to the goals. So whatever I say in the objective, that must eventually achieve the goal. For example, I want to achieve increase rice production, let us say in Andhra, by another 10%. How am I going to achieve that? Have I said it clearly in my objective? Am I going to use a hybrid rice? Am I going to use organic manuring? Or am I going to increase what? I am going to do what? So the goal is to achieve increase in rice yield. Do I have my objectives clear? That's what is relevance. Remember, objectives are the building blocks, steps toward meeting the goals. For example, my objective is just irrigation. See, suppose I make a project for Andhra. By increasing irrigation, I am going to get more rice. People will laugh at me because irrigation is not a problem there. You have perennial rivers. So my objective should be clear and focused, and then it should convince the funding agency that I will achieve the goal of increase in food production, right? So time specific. See, time specific is very important. Be clear in the objective about the time frame. Suppose I talk about hybrid rice. Now, what is the time specificity here? Suppose the rice takes 6 months and I cannot do 2 crops. It is season bound. So I can grow only 1 crop. So if I want to really make sure that whatever intervention I have done, that is realistic, true, dependable, trustworthy, I have to do 3 trials. That means I need minimum 3 years. Imagine in one of the years there is a drought or there is a flood. So I need minimum 4 years. So if the time I'm defining if I'm not clear, if I say I will try to achieve increase in rice production in a project of 2 years, people will think, in which program again, whenever you write a project, you write different segments. And whenever we talk about time specificity, in which segment you are going to achieve within an year, in which segment you are going to achieve within 2 years. So that has to be clearly defined. Will it bring a definite change? Will it bring an expected change? Will that take place? Now, in terms of activities and timeline, specify if there is a project, if there are 2 or 3 investigators, who will do what? Have you defined it? You have to say investigator 1 will do these things. Investigator 2 will do these things. But you say investigator 1 has expertise. He has publications in this field. So because he has done work, he's an expert, he will take care of this particular section. An investigator 2, these are his expertise. So like that, you have to precisely define each investigator, what is his expertise, what he will precisely do, and when. Timeline. So always you have to say when exactly that particular task will be completed. And then you have to define here the methodology, how you are going to accomplish that particular task. Why you have selected a particular pathway, or why you have selected a particular methodology. You have to precisely say that. In many times, they ask if your methodology failed for unknown reasons. Do you have an alternate methodology? Do you have a backup? So you have to define that also. How long each activity will take? Always they have the question when you are going to really complete it. Of course, then you come to budget. Ask for what you need to do the project. See, sometimes, I want to buy a fluorescent microscope. I like it. I want to buy it. This is my lifetime ambition. So the project which I propose, I put a fluorescent microscope, which is totally irrelevant to the project. But I want to buy a gas chromatograph. So I put that in the project where there is no need. So you have to ask money and equipment which are just needed to complete the project work. Justify the request. Okay, otherwise the funding agency will again think twice. Develop a budget explanation. Delineate clearly how the budget figures were arrived at. How you have reached this figure. Asking 1 crore. How do you reach that 1 crore? Now, what are the evaluation indicators? Clear objective lead to an evaluation plan. If objectives are clear, it is easy to evaluate. How are you going to know you accomplished what you set out to do? Can you evaluate the project by yourself? Can you say whether you have achieved the target within a year? Whatever you wanted to achieve, have you achieved it? Is there an indicator? Right? It's not simply, I'm happy that, okay, I've done it. No. Are there clear-cut indicators? And then choose the indicators that will tell you whether or not you achieved your goal and met the objectives. So evaluation indicators are nothing but clear-cut indication, achievement markers in a time scale, and then whatever is your objective, whatever is your goal, are you achieving towards the goal using the objective in a time frame using single or a collaborative expertise? So this has to be precisely and clearly defined. Now let us see what is very important in the whole of this kind of an argument. Do's and don't. What you should do. We will see it now. What you should not do, I will show you in the next slide. What are the do's? Innovative. The project should have innovation. If not invention. Invention is next stage. Are you innovative enough? Relevant. Are you making a proposal which is relevant to your district, or relevant to your state, relevant to your community, or relevant to the whole country, sometimes relevance to the whole world? But what is the relevance? Proposal demonstrate expertise. See, expertise is something people will look for. Then is it feasible? Show the enthusiasm in your writing. Develop writing skills. What you write should speak for you in your absence. So that's absolutely important. Make it simple, straightforward language. Don't put it in a way which people find it difficult to understand what you are trying to say. Is it research based? Okay, logical models. There are something called as a logical model. A logic model is a widely used tool that presents specific details of the program inputs, activities and outcomes, and shows generally how they are related. Logic models can be very helpful in organizing and summarizing your information. So it's better. There are many tools available today. One such tool is logic model. So if you follow that, that will really help you. Don'ts, what you should not do. Project does not address priorities. Study in this mountain. Study in this valley. Studies on this river. Studies in this soil. Studies on those trees. Studies about this bird. I mean, there is no priority for all these things in India. Ideas are not clearly presented. If you're not clear, you are not going to make a presentation clear. Ideas are not backed up by statistical research. It should be backed up by statistics. How many people have given results in that particular area? Don't use jargons. See, jargons never get projects, right? And sometimes you are over ambitious. If your project only deserves 20 lakhs for 1 crore, so the agency thinks you are not at all realistic. Narrative and budget don't correspond. Now, what is your problem you have taken? What are your objectives? The way in which you describe that you are going to do it. And then you ask for a huge money. They say, look, they don't correspond to each other. The worst thing, you describe a project which has been already done. If not in India, it is done in Taiwan, done in Korea, done in Philippines, right? Done in Nepal. What is that you are going to do the same? I mean, the people will say, come on, this is already known. Okay, so I think till now, whatever I was saying is how best or how much we should really put our effort and how much we should be careful enough. You have to remember it's a competition. Okay, I'll give you certain, anyway, I'll give the certain secrets in the end of the talk. I will now talk about the funding agencies and then how we can get the project. University Grants Commission is one of those funding agencies. So the nature of assistance they give, a quantum of assistance for a research project will be as under. Major research projects in sciences, including engineering, technology, then pharmacy, all those fields put together will give you up to 20 lakhs. So, and this commission will provide the financial support for the items. What are those items? They will give money for equipment, books and journals. You can, of course, hire a project fellow, or you can have some hiring services. They give you some contingency, chemicals, consumables, travel, things like that. So this is the major project. I will give you a very interesting thing, which is very recent. Now, many faculty are newly joined. So Government of India wants to encourage everybody who are a newly joined faculty, so they should get some money so that they can do some research. So this is what is called as a startup grant for newly recruited faculty. So what they say, all the teachers who are newly appointed at the level of assistant professor are eligible. Against the permanent post in the faculties of basic science, engineering or technology. Following the specified procedure of university, they will be eligible to receive financial support under this scheme. But the assistant professor should hold a PhD degree. Don't ask me, is it not an MSc can do research? Yes. Problem is there are so many PhDs who are not able to get money to do research. So unless we satisfy all the PhD, we cannot think of giving it to MSc holders. With a minimum of 2 publications, see, this is the problem. You may have a PhD degree. Have you published 2 research papers in an approved journal, a Scopus index journal, a journal which has citation index? If you are published in some college magazine or a city magazine or in some journal, paid journals, many UGC journals are paid journals. I mean, that's not counted. Okay. And the assistant professor should apply within a period of 1 year from the date of appointment. You cannot apply once 1 year is over. So the UGC provides at least 6 lakhs. So any newly joined faculty in the rank of assistant professor, if the candidate has PhD degree, if the candidate has published 2 papers from the PhD degree, right? When you do a thesis, when you work for doctoral degree, you will certainly publish papers. If you have published papers during your doctoral thesis work, if that 2 papers are in a very well recognized journal, then you will at least get 6 lakhs to begin with. So and then you can get a minor equipment for 1 lakh. Then you can ask for money for consumables, contingencies, field work, whatever. So one cannot now complain that I am not getting a grant. So all those here, see here we are not using all whatever I said in my previously about the how to write a project, things like that. This is an opportunity given to all the newly recruited faculty holding PhD degree on having published 2 papers in an accepted scientific journal of some quality and which is actually used for citation index purpose, right? So there are a lot of funding agents in India. One can't say I'm not able to get a grant. Now, what are the other funding agencies? You have Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, which is of late called as DSIR, Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. So when I was applying for a project, it was Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, but today it is department. There you will get grants up to 20 lakhs. You do have Indian Council of Medical Research, right? So ICMR do encourage people to apply for projects up to 30 lakhs, right? And you can always say a medicinal plant. You can always say that you have a new formulation. So there is an opportunity for people to apply for ICMR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. So you have ICAR. So even ICAR is giving a lot of projects to people who are working in universities and other colleges which are not agricultural institutions. For example, biofertilizer. So you can imagine for the whole country, Madurai Kamaraj University was operating biofertilizer. It was not IARI. It was not agricultural universities. Why? Wherever expertise is available, wherever they can do it, the money is given, whether you are an agricultural institution or not. So ICR was involved, and in the Indo-US, I was in a basic botany department or a microbiology department. I was in a Southern Madurai Kamaraj University. I was the nominated scientist by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who was then Prime Minister, with the Indira Gandhi-Reagan Pact for Agriculture. How? So I'm not an agricultural scientist. I'm not an agricultural college. I'm not in agricultural universities. But they wanted the nitrogen fixing organism, how to improve them. So strain improvement needs a lot of molecular biology. Strain improvement needs a lot of knowledge and genetic engineering. So wherever it is available, the project will be given there. Okay. So ICAR is another agency, Department of Science and Technology. Anybody has an innovative idea, anybody has a novelty, anybody has a clear-cut problem solving solutions, you can apply to Department of Science and Technology. There is a Science and Engineering Research Council, which will really go into these kind of projects. You can ask up to 70, 80 or even lakhs or 1 crore, provided it's a multi-institutional project and you are clear-cut with your objectives. Department of Biotechnology. So if you want to make a product, do you know how to make a product from a biological resource? And can you make a vaccine now? To give you an example, what project you will get in DBT? Can you make a COVID-19 vaccine? Do you know how to do it? They will immediately fund. You have the expertise to design a vaccine? Do you have an expertise to really do how to prime the antigen response? Can you really immunize? Can you show the immunization is possible? So now any novel idea, anything that today the problem is COVID-19. How many Indian scientists can really do something so that it will help the people? Is the issue, right? And there is also Ministry of Environment, climatic changes and natural. So you can also do ecology or ecological situation. I am being a biologist. I'm giving examples which is perhaps relevant to biological systems. Suppose somebody says, sir, I applied project. I have applied for UGC. I don't get it. I have applied for DSIR. I'm not getting it. ICMR, no reply. ICAR, no response. Now, what do I do? Go for funding for NGOs. You know, there is something called as a non-government organization funding. If you really come out with a problem relevant to the society, you can, as an NGO, you can register as an NGO. You can get even money from international funding agencies. So the key is not where money. Money is available all over. But do you have you taken a problem which is important, where you have a clear-cut objective and methodology where you claim you have the expertise to solve it, you can apply for a grant anywhere in the world. As a non-governmental organization, you have the right to attract the money, right? So, have you considered non-governmental organization for research funds? A lot of money is available there, right? I don't know how many of the people know that NGO is another interesting place to look for. Okay, I will introduce something very interesting. See, we have to really understand you are living in an era of informatics. We are not living in a classical time period. What is crowdfunding? I do not know how many of you heard crowdfunding. What is it? Should you consider crowdfunding for your next research project? See, you are not getting money from anywhere, but you want to solve a problem, and you think you have the expertise. You think you can really do some good work, but you need money. Money is not available. Funding agencies, you have applied for a project, nothing happens. Now what? So, what is crowdfunding? I will give you an example. The study of unraveling mystery of TDP43. What is TDP43? It's a versatile protein. It's a protein involved in what? Neurodegenerative disorder. So there is a problem of the neurons. There is a problem in the nerves. So there is a protein which is called as the TDP43. People believe that that protein is really the reason why there are a lot of problems. Nobody funded this guy. One particular person thinks that he can do something for this problem, but then he was not getting any grant. So he wanted at least $10,000 to try out an experiment and see whether that is going to work or not. So what he did, he created a website. Once you create a website, you give the title of the problem. You give the abstract of the problem. You give the methodology which you are going to follow. And then you say those who are interested to fund, you give them your account number. You give the project, not your personal account number, your project account number. And then ask people to invest. So from the public, from the crowd. Now this guy who started this problem, he created a website. He has defined what is the problem. He has given the objectives, abstract, and the methodology. You won't believe 85%, almost $8,500 you have collected within 3 months, right? So he has fixed the target like 3 months. Only 12 days are left for 15% more and eventually got it, right? So then the question is, should researchers switch to crowdfunding as a means to raise money and do research, right? So today with informatics, creating a database and creating a website and describing is not a big issue. Let us look very interesting examples of very significant crowdfunding. What are the other examples? A crowdfunding platform can help the project notice and eventually help researchers to get the required funds. There is more willingness now on the part of the general public to support scientific projects. For example, somebody wanted to do how to identify the leopards in snow leopards, Arctic and Antarctic. So what this guy has done, he simply said nobody is doing that, and it may be very interesting to do that such a kind of a project. Again, created what is called as a website, and then he put that he want to work with this kind of. You know what he did? He created a website. He defined the project, given the objective. He simply said he will use a low-cost DNA test. So he will identify whether snow leopards are there in a given particular ecosystem or not by taking the snow sample and doing a PCR, a DNA field test. And he says, using this kit, if it gives a positive, that means the leopards are there. If it is not positive, you can say it's not there. In other words, if you know how to create a low-cost DNA field testing kit, right, you are not bothered about who is going to fund you. And then this guy, within no time, he got $4,400, and maybe it still continues. So in other words, what is that we are talking about? Securing grants for experimental projects through the conventional. Now, let me compare what is the difference between this crowdfunding and the regular funding. See, securing grants from experimental projects through the conventional funding bodies, it is always tricky, not little. It is tricky. See, the problem, the referees, the committee members, see, they don't want to take any risk. See, you are coming with a total novel idea. See, they don't want to really fund it because they don't know it is going to work. See, you cannot all the time ask for, do you have the expertise? Have you published paper? See, anything new, how can you publish papers? Anything out of the box thinking, how can there be any collateral information? So normally, all these traditional questions, expertise, do you have published papers? Then only you can apply for a project. Then only we will give money. It is classical. So this is what happens in the regular funding agencies. They don't want to take risk. Additionally, since most grants need proof of concept, see, whatever you say, they will have, where is the POC? Do you have proof of concept? Is the experimental project, see, very little or no success? If you do not have POC, what's the rate of success? So they say no proof of concept, we can't fund it. Whereas, look at the crowdfunding. See, in crowdfunding, conversely, crowdfunding never bothers, leans heavily, extremely on the experimental project you define. They don't care whether you have proof of concept, whether you have the expertise. For example, there was a project, should we use selfie in the cell phone or not to selfie? Because many people died. You know, they went into the hill, they went to the tip of the hill, both husband and wife, they wanted to take a selfie, right? Sitting in the edge, they never realized what is that they're doing. They were trying to take a selfie. There was a heavy wind. Both of them went into the bottom of the hill, died. Now comes the issue, should there be selfie or no selfie? And if it is selfie, where you want to do it and where you should not do it. Next is the interesting thing. How can scientists foster public trust on Instagram? Should we believe on Instagrams or ignore? So these kind of projects has already secured more than 58% of the funding, right? So also a study like assessing stress in migrant and minorities in US during presidential election. So another project, somebody wanted to see whether you can use cortisol for hairspray or not. See, look, you can apply for any project. You can come out with any idea which you think will impress the public, which you think will attract the attention of the crowd. There is a huge opportunity today, which we call it as crowd funding. I hope, okay. So Now we will go to another interesting form of funding, which many of you maybe never really gone into the details, or where you never really thought that there is a provision like corporate funding. Now, what is corporate funding? Why will corporation fund your research? So people will immediately ask, whenever I say go and apply for an industry for a project, they will say, why the industry should fund my project? A very interesting question. Why they should do it? Why industries or why corporations will fund projects for teachers in the university and colleges? Here are the reasons. What are the reasons why corporations are interested in funding your research? Number one, research funding can be considered as a corporate social responsibility. There is something called as corporate social responsibility, which is otherwise called as CSR. A CSR activities can lead to a positive public image. See, if an industry is giving funding to academicians to do a project, naturally the public will look at that industry. They will say, look, this industry is capable of encouraging research in the academic world. So the public image will go. And then there are many people who are investors. See, many of the industries, they have their own money and they get money from investors or shareholders. So the investors and the shareholders, many of them are socially conscious. So many people invest in industries as a conscious investor or a shareholder whenever the industry is capable of funding research. Okay. So to satisfy the people, the investor and the shareholder and the clients, the industries are always spending some money as a research grant. In fact, some investors specifically look at those kind of industries, right? So in fact, some investors specifically, those who take into consideration of the environment. So many investors are interested in protecting the environment and also participating in the social issues and also looking at the governance issue. So what these industries are doing, so these industries will invest project research money about the environmental issues, about issues concerned with the social problems, about the issues concerned with the governance. So industries do fund projects if it is concerned with environment or social issue or governance. Firmly believe that a company that has a strong CSR initiative will deliver better returns in the long term. This is how it works in the Western countries. And maybe the same thing is followed in India now. And research funding may fulfill. See, it's not simply that. Today what happens is government has insisted all the industries. Now government is telling an industry, you have to spend some money in research. Either you should have a research wing or you fund for project so that the academicians can do that research for you. Now this is a rule. For instance, in India, the Companies Act requires companies falling within certain categories to spend at least 2% of their profit. So they have to spend 2% of that profit in research activities. So they will fund academicians who will give projects which will interest the industry or which is socially relevant or which address a problem of the environment or even general management systems. They do fund. Companies do not have to spend it. Of course, there is no hard and fast. Spend it on universities and colleges. They can run their own research wing. But there are many industries where they fund the money. So the knowledge gained from this kind of research may be useful to the company itself for its own progress. Or maybe it satisfies the requirement of the government. So what they do support R&D efforts. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I have given some kind of an idea, the do's and don'ts in writing a project, and then why you must take a problem. See, don't apply for a project unless and otherwise you have identified a real critical problem. And then you say, this is the problem. What is the problem hypothesis? And then you say, what is already known? What has been for this kind of a problem? Has there any work done previously? What is the work or information available nationally? What is the information available internationally? And how the laboratories or scientists of the world have tried to solve this problem. What are the methodologies they have used? How they were trying to solve the problem. And now you say they were trying to use these methodologies, these protocols, these procedures to solve this problem, and the problem was not solved. The problem continues. Now, what is your idea? What is the objective of your proposal? What are the methodology you are defining? Why do you say this will work? Do you have any work done? Or do you have the expertise? Or you have an expertise along with you? So you give a novel approach. You say this is a perennial problem. People tried, they could not solve it. I have an idea. I can do this. I believe in a period of this, it could be solved. Now, how do I know my idea works? I clearly define what are the indicators of my achievement at every 6 months period. And I know that I am achieving what I am supposed to achieve every 6 months. So I am sure as and when along with the project, I will be able to achieve the goal. So the real aim of the project is to achieve the goal. Whatever problem which is a perennial, which has not been solved, now, am I really doing the right approach? Am I taking the money and then in a time scale of 3 years, am I really achieving it? If you have the clear-cut model and then your clear-cut indicators, you clearly define the objectives, you clearly define the methodologies, you clearly indicated your expertise or your co-workers' expertise. And then if it is real and true, a funding agency will think twice before they reject. That's point number one. The other issue is there are a variety of funding agencies today. It's not only government funding agencies. You can try with the government funding agencies. They have their own methodology of assessment. But there are also other agencies, international agencies. You can apply as an NGO. There are crowdfunding, which is new to India, very much common in US and Europe. India can also start trying it because we have so much of computer science and computer knowledge. It's not all that great and difficult to create a website and then to create a pay channel. And there are many industries today. They have to spend 2% of the profit in research, either in-house or giving it to others. So I think you would have got an overall idea of what is the real status of making a project proposal and what are the opportunities of funding you have. Anyway, I would stop here, and then if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable knowledge. Now,
Thank you.